Hi, my name is Joe Forward. I'm with the State Bar of Wisconsin, and I'm here today with Fred Lederer. He's a professor of law at the William and Mary School of Law, and he's here today to present at the Wisconsin Law Foundation Annual Recognition Dinner. He's also the director for the Center for Legal and Court Technology and the Courtroom 21 project. Professor Lederer, how are you doing?
Fine. Glad to be with you.
So what is your topic that you're presenting?
My topic tonight is technology, particularly from the perspective of a trial judge or a trial lawyer, mostly as you'd expect lawyers tonight. And our theme really is that the world is changing rather rapidly in front of us. Happily, that our jobs are safe. Let's face it, the world always needs lawyers, especially competent, ethical attorneys. The difficulty is that our tools are changing, the people with whom we work are changing, and we're going to have to adapt to that if we're going to continue to do our jobs as well as we should.
And what do you do at the Center for Legal Technology?
The Center for Legal and Court Technology at William and Mary Law School, which is a joint initiative of the Law School and the National Center for State Courts, is the World Center for Courtroom and Related Technology. So on the one hand, we do legal research, empirical research. Second, we teach courses at the law school, such as electronic discovery and criminal data seizures. We design facilities around the world, and we supply consulting services around the world as well.
Okay. And it's a premier, you have a premier facilities there, is that correct?
I believe there's pretty much unanimous agreement around the world that our courtroom, which is ever-changing, is the world's most technologically advanced trial and appellate courtroom.
And so what are some of the technologies that you've incorporated there?
The courtroom is capable of potentially up to roughly 20 remote appearances at one time. Remote judges, remote lawyers, remote witnesses, for instance. We have a multimedia court record in which the court record consists of the digital audio, the digital video, the real-time text transcript, and the actual images, the evidence, just as it's being introduced. At the same time, we have assistive technology for people who have difficulty seeing, moving, and hearing. And of course, we have a vast amount of evidence presentation technology as well. Pretty much, if we don't have it, it's on its way in.
And it has the capability to connect people from around the world, is that correct?
That's correct, by use of particularly video conferencing or other forms of audio and video communications.
And so what do you think the importance of incorporating that technology today is?
It's a good question. The difficulty, Joel, is that there are too many answers to it. On the one hand, we save a fortune where people don't have to pay, for instance, to fly in for a short matter. Imagine, for instance, being able to argue a 3-minute motion from your office. You can already do that by telephone. Court Call does it in California, for instance, in particular, as well as other states. But how about something a little bit more elaborate so that you and 3 other people can all argue from your desks and you'll see each other, you'll be able to present your documents, for instance. We can do that right now. We have the ability to go ahead and make things possible that couldn't be done if it's just video. How about the elderly who are simply unable to come to court? We have remote interpretation. An individual who needs American Sign Language doesn't have to have the interpreter in the courtroom. And we can go on and on. But of course, the fundamental element of technology has always been the ability of lawyers to present evidence to judges and juries. And we can do that very, very well visually today.
Okay. Here in Wisconsin, part of the problem is funding. Courts just don't have the funding to be able to incorporate some of these things. Are there smaller steps that courts can take, or maybe simpler technologies that they can start to incorporate that are important?
Well, Wisconsin's not unique. It's an extraordinary and wonderful state, of course, but all the states are suffering financially in one form or the other. If you imagine today how incredibly inexpensive it can be to buy a inexpensive projection unit, attach it to an inexpensive computer or an iPad, and suddenly you have a high-tech evidence presentation system. Now, it's certainly more money than a couple of pieces of paper and an easel, but it's a lot cheaper than a full-fledged, permanently installed high-tech courtroom. And clever lawyers, judges, and court administrators are able to do amazing things with almost no cost whatsoever these days.
And I know that you mentioned that there are some of these courts that you've been sort of consulting on across the world. What are some of those courts that are incorporating these technologies?
Well, there are courts at all levels, whether they range from the courts of first instance, including, for instance, traffic jurisdiction, through major civil litigation or criminal litigation. One of the most best-known cases in the last few months was the Casey Anthony trial that took place in the Ninth Judicial Circuit in Florida, which is Orlando, Florida. And the courtroom, the Roger Barker courtroom, called informally Courtroom 23, since on the 23rd floor, was in fact a courtroom in which its technology was designed by our Deputy Director, Martin Gruen. And as you'll notice, it was certainly used.
Yeah. And how did you get involved in this? I mean, when did you become interested in technology in the court?
Well, there are many answers to that, but one is simply that our project began as the Courtroom 21 project, standing for the courtroom of the 21st century, back formally in August of 1993, when the Stenograph Corporation wanted to be able to show visitors to the National Center for State Courts the latest advances, both in court record technology as well as the ability to go ahead and video record. And it started from there, and it's just gotten ever more all-encompassing.
Professor, thanks for all the great information. I appreciate you talking with us today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks very much.